Okay, I'm going to keep this session a bit short, but it's also an important session. It's a session on branding. And just to give you a bit of my background, like I used to work in the world of branding. I was in market research and advertising. And then I started food blogging. And then I about 13, 14 years back. And then for the last few years, I've been working as a food writer and also with consultants with brands in the food space. In the last couple of years, I've been very, very impressed by the work of home chefs, many of whose food I've been eating for the last 2 years, but many of whom I'm meeting for the first time, on this day. And so what I've tried to do over the last couple of years is sort of work with them in terms of helping them build their brand, because often like they're doing great work in terms of cooking the food and all of that, but it's also important when you're getting into a business to build your brand and be clear about what that is. So I've done workshops on that, and then last year we did a recognition called the Home Chefies, where we sort of evaluated home chef brands, and it was amazing to see the brands which are coming out, and the judges were for people from the world of marketing, not food, and they were really impressed by what they were doing. The first question is, what is a brand? And brand is a word which we all know, but you often wonder that what is a brand? And if you go to a marketing book, there's often a 3 or 4 line description of what is a brand, which I honestly don't remember. But a brand essentially is your identity. So if you think of a person, if you think of a business, what you think of is the brand. Now sometimes it could be the way the brand intends you to think of. Sometimes there could be a gap between the person who's the audience looks at the brand versus the brand. But eventually the way it comes through to the audience is the way which a brand is seen. So I'm going to take a couple of examples. So let's take UpperCrust and the magazine. When you think of UpperCrust and the magazine, what is it that comes to your mind? Immediately, if something comes to your mind, like, what is it? Like UpperCrust and the magazine? Right up there says Urvaksh, okay. Wine says Asad. Anyone else about UpperCrust magazine? So see, if you see about UpperCrust, and it's a food magazine, already there's so many things which are coming in. There's upper high up there, which comes from the name. It's about food and wine because that's what they talk about. And then you're also talking about inspiration. So so that's one brand. Then if you think of Puja and La 15, like what's it that comes to your mind? Okay, macarons and cookies. Yeah, cupcakes. So very interesting that Puja represents a business, and all the things which you associated with her was actually the product. So macaron, and she's known as the macaron queen. Cupcakes, hot chocolate, and cookies. Yeah, but the thing is that there are two aspects to a brand. There's a rational aspect, and then there's the emotional aspect. So the rational aspect is the physicality of a brand, what you're seeing out there, the products, or in the case of the magazine, the sort of content. But the idea is to slowly move towards an emotional connect also with your brand. That what is it that you stand for? And for that, what's very important when you're creating a brand, like when you're creating a home chef business, is to ask yourself that why are you in it, and what is it that you want to do, which is in a way purpose. So purpose sounds very philosophical and all of that, but if you look at all top brands in the world, they spend a lot of time working out what is the purpose of a brand. So in the olden days, like brands would often have 3-4 line purposes, and which would be a lot of nice words but which would not make any sense. But on the other hand, if say a brand says that we are in the purpose of creating happy moments for families, right? So then you could start off as a McDonald's, which is making restaurants and for families to this thing. Say at some point something happens and the food court model doesn't work, McDonald's can even get into making, say, amusement parks, because they're saying that we want to give happy times for families. So it's important to see that what is the space you want to be in, and then take it. And there are many home chefs, cloud kitchen people here, so I'm going to use them as examples. But let me first talk about myself, because My blog, named by my wife, is FinelyChopped, is quite a few years old, and most of my social media presence is that. And while I talk of brands and all of that, I've never really thought of what my brand is. And there's a reason for that, because when I started, it was a hobby, and I'm there as a writer. So I'm not there to really sell a product, but like how Pooja said, that if you're doing a business, then you forget about being shy or going for blue tick. If it works for you, just go and do it, right? The time I had to think of purpose was this year 2012-13, when I was making the transition from research to food. And it was a very rocky period because, I was used to a certain way of working, and then I was moving into a completely unknown space. In fact, some of my friends from back then, Supriya and all that, for example, know that there was a lot of self-doubt, and a lot of people like him were like really encouraging me. And I had stopped writing because I was wondering, like, what's the point? I was just saying. So then, there are different approaches, but for me, I sort of came across like a philosophy and Buddhism, and where I was asked to think of my purpose. So then I thought that, a lot of writing which I do is about people from different communities. So let me be someone who connects people from different communities through my writing. So once I got that purpose, I started writing again. I started doing food walks in different parts of the city. Then I slowly got commissioned to write a book, to write columns, and everything which was around that. And then things grew and then the lockdown happened. And then I knew that for the indeterminate future, there will not be much commissioned work. So how do I keep myself going? So then I said that, okay, let me sort of work on providing people hope during this time of the lockdown, because we are sort of sorted for now, luckily. But a lot of people are not. So let me, through my work, sort of do that. And there were a lot of people who would write to me saying that they would do that, they would get a little bit of inspiration or break when they would see my page. And then very recently I thought that, okay, maybe I should do a bit of what my brand stands for, because if nothing else, it will stop me from feeling overwhelmed. We all feel very overwhelmed. Sometimes you might see someone doing a great event, or someone starting a television show, or someone writing a column. What you don't know behind that is, like, are they making any money, or did they have to pay to do it, or whatever. That is not the point. But the point is, you start comparing yourself with what other people are doing, and then you sort of lose your anchor. And that will happen a lot for home chefs who are working by themselves. So then I thought that, in the last 2 years, I've been very excited about the work of home chefs. I've really admired them, and I've been, talking about them and eating their food. And earlier I was known as someone who would write more about street food and small establishments and all that. While I'd of course go to luxury places. And then I realized that maybe, while I didn't think of it that way, but I'm someone who likes to be in the corner of David. David versus Goliath. So I come from the point of view that, there's nothing wrong with Goliath, but there are a lot of people there to support Goliath. But David needs a bit of help. So I would rather be there. So which means that then it fits. So right now David is home chef. Earlier David was maybe the street food people. But that becomes the core essence. So now all of that is good. But how does that translate to home chef? So I've seen 2-3 people here whom I want to sort of question, because I know their stories, and give that to you as example. So we've got Marina on the front row. So Marina sort of started Utupura, her home chef thing, about a couple of years back, and while she's grown, I've seen a certain consistent ethos to the food which you do. So Marina, what are you trying to do through your business?
So, I started Utupura in 2020. Just before I started Utupura, I wanted to start a little restaurant, and that didn't work because of the COVID. And I was really impatient at that time, because there was this food, the vegetarian Keralite food, that I wanted to bring to the forefront, because Kerala is known for its Malabar parotas and beef fry and all of that. And there was this whole part of the vegetarian cuisine that was being neglected, and I think that was my intent in starting Utupura. And also the next intent what I had was, I always reveled in the memories of my childhood. That was me, that was who I truly was, and I think Utupura just made me so clear internally as a person, because what I put on Instagram, I really don't think too much because it's from my heart, and I don't know if people like it, don't like it. I put Keralite songs there because that's my calling, and I think that was the reason I think that I started Utupura. The name Utupura also I chose because I used to go with my grandmother to the temples, to Guruvayur. And every time we went to the temple, she always used to say, let's go to the Utupura and have our meal. And Utupura in Malayalam means a dining space in a temple. So it's a community space. It's a small community space where we would sit down and eat. And those are my memories of growing up, and which has just become so vivid because of Utupura. So I think that was my starting point.
Thank you. So I'm going to use Marina as a case study, and then I'm going to ask someone who was telling me that she's just starting a business to see how we can build around that. So I didn't know Marina till the beginning of the lockdown when she was introduced to me, and then we had her food, and I'm Bengali, I'm married to a Parsi, and someone on a Sunday wants to send vegetarian food, like okay. But but since then, like, we've become big fans of her food, so that takes care of the product. But then, first of all, if you see like the packaging, like the way it's evolved, like the banana leaves, the containers, the way everything is packed, there's no spillage, and then the clarity inside, and sometimes all these little things like Mogra. Or once, when there was a festival, and I read about that custom very recently when I read Bachi Karkaria's book on Captain Nair, where there was some festival and you gave us a little potla of rice and a 100 rupee note, not a 1 rupee coin. But so I read over there that the elders give this for Vishu, right? So I see all of that. Then I go to her page and see the sort of food which she's eating, she's putting up over there, and things like that. And then I see a certain consistency, because Marina does everything from the heart, and then it translates into the physical aspect of it, which is in terms of the menu, the food she puts out, the packaging, the stories which she tells, and she does very limited orders. Like when she does a Sunday thing, it's 16 or 12 or something like that, and a bulk of her customers happen to be repeat orders because over time they want to sort of. So to me, this is how you create a good home chef brand. So it is not really rocket science. I mean, an agency can help you, but do you need an agency at this stage? Not really. It's really all about common sense. Like for example, we've got Supriyo here, who's here because as a food enthusiast, but in his professional life, like he advises so many businesses coming in from Catalan. So it's often like you need to put in a lot of common sense. So what did she do? When she started a home chef thing, she was very clear that this is why I'm doing it. This is the food I want to present. This is what I want to stand for. This is what I want to give. I'm sure she set certain business goals, but that is how she built her brand, and she built it consistently. And I just came across someone who's just starting off.
My name is Sheetal Bhise.
And what do you want to do as a home chef?
So I have been doing it over the weekends.
But
And
what sort of food, or why are you doing it?
I have always loved cooking. That's one thing which I'm very passionate about.
But everyone here loves cooking. So what is unique
So-
about your love for cooking?
Something I always feel when you eat food, it should touch your soul. That is very important. Like you feel very content having something is what I always enjoyed the experience of food. So giving that kind of soulful experience to people to make them feel content that they've really had something good makes me feel good.
So what sort of food are you trying to do? Like, give me some examples.
So it's basically my community style cooking. So we are a community that's CKP, it's a Chandrasenia Kayasth Prabhu, a Maharashtrian community. Certain dishes are very specific to our community, which may be like when we talk about Maharashtrian food, a lot of people associate it with Malwani, Kolhapuri. Not many know there are different. Yeah. So again, maybe there's not much exposure to it, and which maybe we've been having right from our childhood. Maybe a simple example, like if I would carry something in my tiffin and people would love it, but this is not the Maharashtrian food that we've had.
Give me an example of a dish.
So even I would talk about, there's the karanji. We have a specific name for it. We don't call it karanji. We call it kanavla. I operate with the name What's Cooking.
Anyone has a take on what Sheetal said in the beginning and as she started saying, did it make a difference to your wanting to taste the food? Supriya, anything you want to say?
So yeah, I was listening to Sheetal and I think I concur with her on the fact that food, even though it has different interpretations, it's best when it comes out from the heart. What you're doing, you're making it from the heart, your interpretation of it, and that's what works. So stick to that.
Thanks. So the point I want to make to you, Sheetal, is that from a branding point of view, is that you started off by saying that you love cooking. If there's any home chef who says that they don't love cooking, maybe that's going to make them famous, because they all say they will love cooking. Then you said that, you want to do food which is from the soul, make you feel comfortable. That is what home chefs are about. If you don't want to feel comfortable, then you have street food or you go to a fine dining place. Home chef is about comfort. Like, when I had COVID last week, I would eat only food cooked in people's homes. Sometimes home chefs, sometimes friends, right? But then you said you wanted to do food of your community. Then I said, now which community is this? Then you said CKP. So now, I know who CKPs are. And then you started telling us about your community and the full name of CKP and how the fact that your dishes, like even in a city like Bombay, and the fact that you are from Mumbai would puzzle people. Then you started talking about this Karanji. And that's when, before that I was saying, have I chosen the wrong person? Because I don't know her. And I just took her up as my specimen. And I was like, oh God, what do I do? But I knew. I knew. So that's the thing that, ask yourself who you are, and it doesn't have to be regional. We've heard Malayali, we've heard CKP. It doesn't have to be. You can be a macaron maker, which is fine, but just sort of try to see that what is unique to you, like even food magazines, their food websites, this thing, each has their own unique way, but what is unique to you, and then layer it out. So for example, your name is What's Cooking, for whatever is this thing. So how do you, if CKP is what you want to progress, then how do you bring that alive? How do you bring that alive through the dishes? How do you make, convey that? How do you, through your world, show how is the world of the CKPs different? Like for example, you said that like all Maharashtrians, you do Karanji, but it's made in a different way. Do you people wear your saris a different way? Is there a different dialect of Maharashtrian, this thing? So the more, because see, when you're operating as a home chef, you're also operating at very small scale, right? So you can't fight the price game. You can't fight the price game the way a Shiv Sagar or a Noor Mohammadi or an ITC or a, Copper Chimney can, because, they have huge volumes and all that, and they can do that. Often when you're small entrepreneurs, or even us content creators, writers, whatever, our prices will be comparatively very high, per unit cost. But if you are able to wow your audience, and like Ranveer said in this morning, you don't need to make 50 rotis, but you make 16 meals and you wow your audience, they won't really be thinking of price, and you'll get that value. I'm going to sum up my thing, which is a brand is your identity. Your identity comes from what makes you unique, and you have to be honest to that. And also that should come through in all aspects of your business. So starting from the menu, the food, the way you communicate about it, like even like wrong spelling. On the one hand, it can make it endearing, okay, she's someone trying. But on the other hand, it also tells me of sloppiness. So similarly, when I open food, when I sometimes see things are all over the place, like in the morning I was seeing some people are cooking like a bit, but some are doing very meticulously. So when I see the food come, then I know that there's a lot of care which has come into that, and it gives me that assurance that that food is different versus something coming out of a black dabba. And then of course Pooja told you about using social media.
So let me now give the medal to the star of my day. He's done a tremendous job, right? And then he's mentored the show. So give him an applause. Thank you.